Single people, businesses, and families are moving to Jacksonville in droves. The economy is great, the cost of living is low, and we have some of the friendliest people in the entire state. But Jacksonville, Florida isn't for everyone, and we're going to go into that. In this video, we're going to cover some of the reasons that you might not want to move to Jacksonville, Florida, and we're going to get after it right now. Okay, so here's the first subject, and I normally try to avoid politics, but it's just something that we need to talk about. The state of Florida, we have a Republican governor, and if you look at the map, I'm going to throw a map up, you're going to see that mostly in all the metropolitan areas, you're going to see that it's blue, you know, Democratic. But you're going to see surrounding all those blue areas a sea of red throughout the rest of the state. So, you know, take that as you may. There are certain, you know, geographic areas that are going to be more Democratic and others are going to be more Republican. Jacksonville is in Duval County and it is blue according to the, you know, the map and the records, the registration voter records. But if you want to find out some more about that, go to dos.myflorida.com, and the DOS stands for Department of State, and you can get filled in on, you know, the distribution of the political parties throughout the state, and probably learn about some upcoming elections and some candidates as well. So check that out. Okay, so the next thing that might be an irritation to people, but we got to talk about it, which is going to be the amount of allergens that we have. If you have allergies, find out what you're allergic to and be prepared, because it's a tropical paradise here. We have lots of plants, lots of things that bloom, and you know, with that comes pollen, and a lot of that gets blown around. And you know, I take some over-the-counter medication sometimes, you know, Zyrtec. I'm not endorsing that. Flonase, Sensimus, that kind of stuff. You know, it's helpful. Consume some local honey, perhaps. You can consult with your medical professional if you see one, and you know, see what they have to say. But I've lived in Florida most all my life, and for a period of time, I lived in Lakeland, and my neighborhood was in the middle of a former orange grove, so all of the trees were orange trees, tangerine trees, grapefruit trees, and of course they bloom. And I had a lot of fun when I was a kid growing up, because it turns out I have allergies to all that stuff. But I don't regret, you know, living around all of it, because it's beautiful. I have flowering trees in my house now, and lots of flowers, and you know, mow the yard regularly, and you know, if you wear a mask or something like that, you'll be fine. I will say, along with the allergens, of course, with everything that blooms, you will have some bees flying around. But, you know, bees are important. That's why we have our food. So be gentle with the bees. Okay, so here's the next one. Be prepared for some heat. It gets really warm here. Might as well say hot. For about 9 months of the year. It's going to be up into the 90s temperature wise, and it'll get up into the 90% range, possibly 100% humidity. So, you know, we have HVAC, you know, AC, that helps a lot. That takes out the, you know, the humidity from the air in the place that you live. You know, cars have air conditioners. So I try to avoid sweating as much as I can, but I'm a person that, you know, perspires. It's just the way it is. So, you know, you got to take a couple showers a day and dress accordingly. And, you know, we live with the heat, because on the other side of that is the amazing winters that we have. You know, there's pros and cons to everything, and I do have a pros and cons video, so you want to check that out. But our winters are relatively mild here and pretty short, and they don't, you know, we don't have really long, harsh winters here. You have maybe 2 weeks of winter days where you're going to want to wear a heavier coat or jacket, but that's about it. When I'm filming this today, we're at the middle of April, and we've got another nice cool day. No perspiration so far, and humidity's down, it's breezy, and it's really nice. So, you know, we do have heat, we do have cold, and we do have humidity. Okay, so let's talk about hurricanes. Hurricanes are, the hurricane season is from June to December every year, and there are named storms that, you know, sometimes they go all the way through the alphabet. Now, with those named storms, the names of those storms, but do all of those storms come offshore Jacksonville or threaten Jacksonville? No, they don't. We usually have some storms that, you know, of course, the Weather Service watches, and we know weeks generally ahead of time when they're coming, the strength of the hurricane, the flood potential. You know, emergency services here has a lot of preparedness. You want to know, of course, as a citizen, about evacuation routes, and are you going to evacuate or not, if it's category 3, category 4, that type of thing. But I've lived here most of my adult years, from like age 31 on, and I'm not going to tell you how old I am, but I'm a lot older than that now. But anyway, I've had to evacuate a couple of times, you know, when I was, you know, wanting to be careful. It can sometimes be a mess if you have to evacuate because of the traffic involved. So that's the other thing you want to consider, is if you're going to evacuate, don't wait till the last minute. Go ahead of time, because you don't want to be stuck in traffic. Now, they have built a lot more highways and roadways, you know, in consideration of that over the years and experience with that, and things have gotten better with that as far as evacuating go. But you know, with hurricanes up here, we really haven't had any direct hits in a really, really long time. And I never say never, but I also look at the statistics, and you know, you got to ask yourself, are you concerned? Would that affect whether you would move to Jacksonville or not? The fact that a hurricane might come offshore, you know, it's something you got to think about. You got to look at areas where you're going to buy. Is it in a rated flood zone? Has the property ever had flood insurance claims? That type of thing. But yeah, I mean, hurricanes, they're real, they're a concern. I take them seriously. And if you're going to move to Jacksonville, Florida, you need to know that we do get hurricanes offshore Florida. Sometimes they do come onshore, but they don't usually come up onshore in Jacksonville, thank goodness. Okay, next let's talk about downtown Jacksonville. If you're looking for a really booming, thrilling nightlife with a ton of variety of things to do, you're not going to find that in downtown Jacksonville. Downtown Jacksonville is still in the process of going through like what I consider to be like a Renaissance period. The owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Shad Khan, he's been very influential in you know, changing a lot of things and financing a lot of things with growth downtown. Of course, the downtown development is ongoing. There's a lot of older properties that are being rejuvenated and repurposed, and Downtown Jacksonville is going places, but is it like in the same level as, say, Orlando or Miami or Tampa? No, we're not there yet. We have some catching up to do. But there's a lot of fun stuff and nightlife and things in the Jacksonville area. You're just gonna have to go out to the beaches, or go out into some of the suburb areas for some of that, obviously there's great dining, but if you want to go out dancing, have a lot of drinks, that type of thing, I would head for instance, like San Marco or the beaches, Ponte Vedra, St. Augustine, head up to Fernandina Beach, that kind of thing, if you're looking for the nightlife action. Okay, this is the next thing that I always get asked about. Snakes, lizards, bugs, jellyfish, sharks, and alligators. The jellyfish and the sharks, those are going to be in the salt water, those are going to be in the beach. And when you go in the ocean, you're in the environment of the ocean creatures. I have been stung by a jellyfish, little tiny jellyfish, and it wasn't the end of the world when it happened. And you can see them when they're in the water. I would not go in the water if you're seeing a bunch of jellyfish. It just doesn't make sense to do that. If the lifeguards, sight a shark, or surfers out there telling you that there's sharks out there, any of that kind of thing, avoid the sharks. Don't go out when they're out if you can. I have never had a bad experience with sharks. I have been scuba diving before, and I was around barracudas, and I had a bunch of fish on a stringer because I'd gone spearfishing. And I did have barracudas swimming around, so that was kind of exciting. But aside from that, I haven't had any close encounters with any of that kind of stuff, and I've lived in Florida most of my life. Lizards, also known as chameleons, they're not like Gila monsters or iguanas. They're small, they're green or they're brown, and they skitter around and they puff their necks out sometimes. They're kind of entertaining. They can also be a little bit annoying if they get in between your window screen or one of them runs inside your house. But they're harmless. They don't really do anything, and they're just part of living here in North Florida in the Jacksonville area. As far as like other bugs like cockroaches and flying cockroaches, flying cockroaches are actually palmetto bugs. It's not a cockroach, it's a palmetto bug, and they don't harm you, they don't sting. Same thing goes with cockroaches. You just have to have your house sprayed, treated by an exterminating company. You can have that done quarterly, and you can also have the exterior of your home, treated, the grass and everything around the exterior for termites, all that kind of thing. I always recommend that people, of course, if they want to do it themselves, they can do it themselves. But there's commercial ways to do it, get it done, and it's a reasonable cost, and you won't have any problem if you stay on top of it. Mosquitoes, they fog and treat for mosquitoes. They have mosquito control here. I rarely get bit by a mosquito anymore. Occasionally I get bit by a yellow fly. That's kind of annoying, but they're seasonal, and you can wear bug spray, and just avoid them if you can. If you're in the woods, just watch out for them, because you will know when you've been bit by one. And alligators, I don't go swimming in like dark brackish water when there's reeds and cattails and all that kind of stuff growing. I tend to stay out of that kind of water. I don't go wading in it. If you have If you have a dog, I wouldn't let my dog go swimming in those areas, because that dog might have a bad day, if you will, if it's around where gators are. If you're in a park, you got to be aware of where the water is, and if you're walking near those areas, be aware of it. I haven't had any instances where I had a close encounter with an alligator, and I've been pretty close to some, but it's always been like if I was at a zoo, or if I was at a boardwalk, or if I was at a wildlife preserve and they were in the water. I just stay out of their way. I avoid alligators. I would recommend that you avoid them as well. We can coexist with alligators here in Florida. People do it all the time. But if there's standing water, ponds, creeks, that type of thing, the potential that there could be alligators in those areas. And that covers that. Okay, let's cover the next thing. Jacksonville is very spread out. We're one of the largest cities in the United States in terms of square area, square miles. We're also the most populated city in Florida, but it's like a 80-mile circuit, I think, around the city on the loop, 295 loop. I generally allow at a minimum 20 minutes to get from point A to point B. If it's an area, generally I actually also add 10 minutes if I'm really want to make sure that I want to get there, just to be safe. If Waze says a 30-minute trip, I'd allow an extra 10 minutes to get there, because you don't know what's going to happen. We don't really have traffic tie-ups and terrible traffic here. There are some corridors that you will run into some traffic. For instance, 17 in Orange Park, also known as Blanding Boulevard, that gets some traffic on it every day in the morning and in the evening. But the city's done a lot to widen the highways, widen the roadways. We have express lanes now for toll roads that they're building. They're in the process of building some new high-span bridges that are going to be coming. And just make sure you're aware, Jacksonville's a pretty spread out place. I mean, I've done videos on the suburbs of Jacksonville, and there's like 5 neighboring counties to Duval County that you could consider, and Jacksonville is in Duval County, but all places to live. A lot of people live in those areas, and they commute or they work from home. So, the fact that it's spread out, that's not that big a deal. Just wanted you to be aware of it. Real quick, if this is your first time to this channel and you want to know everything about the Jacksonville, Florida area and its neighboring suburbs, subscribe below and tap the bell for notifications so you can be the first to learn about the current market conditions here in Jacksonville, Florida. My name's Jay Wike. I'm a local real estate agent, and I get calls, texts, and emails every day from people just like you. They're looking for help moving to this area, and I absolutely love it. So whether you're moving in 9 days or 90 days, give me a call, shoot me a text, send me an email. I'm happy to help you make a smooth move to Jacksonville. Okay, this is another thing, which is there are a lot of friendly people in the Jacksonville area. Some people might find that off-putting if they're used to walking and walking straight ahead and not waving or nodding or saying hello or how are you doing. You're going to have a lot of people here that are pretty friendly. They will walk up to you and talk to you and ask you how things are going or how your day is going. You'll get a lot of yes ma'am, no ma'am, yes sir, no sir. I know a lot of people don't like that, but you will get some of that. Particularly in these communities like the one that I'm walking around in. A lot of people here have a sense of community and togetherness, and their kids play together on these streets, and they like to know who their neighbors are, and they like to look out for each other. And I wouldn't say that they're nosy, I would just say that they care. And it's okay to care about somebody else, I think. And you know, that's pretty much the size of it. People here are friendly, and they will speak to you. And I think that's a bonus. That's Southern hospitality. That's part of the perks of living here. Okay, so here's the final one. It's called Jeffrophobia. Do you know what Jeffrophobia is? It's a fear of bridges and tunnels. And if you're afraid of tunnels, no worries, because we don't have any here, not a single one. We're too close to sea level. I know in Mobile, Alabama, they have a tunnel that goes underwater. So anyway, we don't have tunnels here. But we do have bridges, a lot of bridges. And some of them go up pretty high, like the Dames Point Bridge. It goes up pretty high. That's a magnificent view from that bridge. You can see Blunt Island, where the cranes work the terminals, work the ships. You can see the cruise ships. You can see downtown Jacksonville from the Dames Point Bridge. But if you have a fear of bridges, I'm not joking around, and I'm not making light of it. Just making you aware that we do have a lot of bridges here. So if bridges are not your thing, don't move to Jacksonville. So I hope you got a lot out of this list of negative aspects about moving to Jacksonville, Florida. It's something that I felt like I needed to cover and put it out there for what it's worth, so you know, and you won't say, Jay, you didn't tell me about this, because I did. Now you know. But give me a thumbs up if you like this video. That always helps. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to me directly. I'm always here for you. You can give me a call, shoot me a text, send me an email. We can even do a one-on-one Zoom call, and I can get dialed in on exactly what you're looking for, you know, for your move here, what you want, what your important things are that you need for your new home here. Reach out to me. I'm your guy. I'm your local realtor, and I'll help you every step of the way. And like I always say, hope to show you around town.